heartwarming bride reveals groom's betrayal, delivers incredible revenge on their special day. In the picturesque town of Maplewood, with its sunlit streets and blooming cherry trees, Sarah, a 28-year-old schoolteacher, was living her fairy tale. She was just days away from her wedding to Jake, the charismatic local business owner whose smile warmed the hearts of everyone around him. Their love story was the talk of the town, a perfect romance that had everyone rallying to help with the wedding plans. But as the day of joy approached, the winds of fate brought a storm that would change everything. On the morning of her wedding, Sarah discovered an anonymous message that knocked the breath out of her lungs. Jake had been unfaithful, his charming facade a mask for betrayal. The words on her phone felt like daggers, cutting through her heart. As her family buzzed in excitement, preparing for the celebration, Sarah's world crumbled in silence. Panic closed in around her, a heavy fog of doubt and despair that twisted her stomach. What was she to do? Smile through the heartache, or confront the man she thought she knew? The day of the wedding came, a day meant for laughter and vows. But for Sarah, the air thickened with an ache that deepened with each step she took. Standing in front of the mirror in her delicate lace gown, she felt like a ghost. The dress that was supposed to symbolize her dreams now felt like a straitjacket. Memories of promises whispered under the cherry trees replayed in her mind, along with the laughter of friends. Each thought twisted the knife deeper. Just when the weight of it became unbearable, a spark ignited within her. This was her story, and she would write it. With an electric surge of determination, she decided to embrace the moment, not as a bride, but as a woman unwilling to be a victim of betrayal. She took a deep breath, her family and friends unaware of the turmoil swirling in her heart. As she stepped into the chapel, the crowd froze, eyes wide in anticipation. She could feel their collective energy, and for the first time, her heart raced not from fear, but from empowerment. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Suddenly, standing at the altar facing Jake, Sarah felt clarity wash over her like a cleansing rain. Her voice, once quaking with uncertainty, rang out clear and firm. Instead of promises of love, she drew from the depths of her pain.
Eyes locked with Jake's, she laid bare the truth, unveiling the proof of his betrayals to the stunned audience. Gasps met her revelation like thunder in the air, the atmosphere thick with shock and disbelief. Their community, once joyous, held its breath as the man they admired was brought down by his own deceit. In that powerful moment, Sarah transformed from the bride to the embodiment of resilience. Their fairy tale aligned with reality, heartache became the backdrop to a narrative of strength. With emotions swirling around her, she reclaimed her story, reminding everyone that loyalty, not illusion, defines true love. As the tension hung thick, Jake's pale expression mirrored the heartache shared by those who looked on in horror, waiting for a response. What would come next? Would he attempt to redeem himself, or would Sarah's revelation allow her to seek the healing her heart desperately craved? The chapel was silent, the tension palpable. Sarah's heart raced, but this time it wasn't fueled by fear. It was a whirlwind of strength, anger, and liberation. She could hardly process the reactions around her. Faces twisted by surprise. Friends and family blinked back disbelief. It was as if the air had been sucked out of the room. Jake stood there, frozen. His typically composed demeanor cracked under the weight of her words. He shifted uneasily, casting desperate glances at the crowd as if looking for an escape that wasn't there. The reality of his actions was laid bare, much like the truth he had hidden for so long. "Sarah, wait." His voice trembled, a weak attempt to regain control. The crowd stayed still, the whispers barely audible. It was as if everyone held their breath, waiting for her next move. But Sarah wasn't here to wait. She had taken charge of her story. "No, Jake," she said, her voice steady yet powerful. "You betrayed me, and I won't let you twist this moment into something you can manipulate. This isn't about us anymore. This is about standing up for myself." With every word, she felt a rising sense of joy. A sense of rightness filled the cavern that heartbreak had created. She took a deep breath, gathering her strength. Today, a wedding should celebrate love and trust. Instead, you threw those vows away. Sarah turned her gaze to the assembled guests. "You deserve to know the truth, just as I did. You all invested your love into this day, just like I did, and you should not have to be a part of this illusion any longer." Murmurs began to ripple through the crowd, a wave of sympathy washing over her. Old friends caught her eye, and she could see the comprehension dawning on their faces. Their hearts were aligned with hers, supporting her in this unexpected battle. Behind her, she could hear her mother gasp, the shock settling in. It felt good. As Sarah stood before everyone, vulnerability transformed into conviction. She placed her trust in their strength and love, drawing energy from the support surrounding her.
Jake reached into his pocket, fishing out his phone, perhaps for the hope of gathering evidence of his innocence. "Sarah, I can explain. You have to listen to me," he pleaded. But the sadness in his eyes was palpable. The facade of the charming groom was crumbling, and he was left standing exposed and revealed. "I don't need to listen to you," she replied firmly. "You've already shown me everything I needed to know." With a flick of her wrist, she pulled away from the altar, and suddenly all the eyes were on her, a spotlight shining brightly against the backdrop of betrayal. "Let's not forget the real celebration," she declared, her heart racing as she turned around to the guests with new purpose. "Let's focus on love, friendship, and support. Let's celebrate all of us who deserve better." Applause erupted from her friends and family. Laughter and cheers broke out, transformed tears of sadness into shouts of encouragement. In that moment, she felt strengthened. It was not only her pain that connected them, but the empowerment, the shared experience of being human. Chuckling softly, Sarah caught sight of a few old friends at the back, their expressions a mixture of pride and disbelief. But among them, she noticed someone familiar. It was her old classmate Ben, his kind eyes twinkling with admiration, a supportive smile breaking through the crowd's shock. How long had it been since she had seen him? Yet here he stood, proof that love and support could emerge even from the most unexpected places. Just as Sarah was about to embrace this newfound sense of hope, the clamor behind her settled into whispers, drawing her attention back. She looked at Jake, now half shrugging against the wall, his eyes clouded by regret. Was there still hope for him? Could he change? Or was this a pivotal moment he had truly lost? As the weight of the moment settled back into her mind, Sarah felt the stirrings of unanswered questions within her heart. Questions that could ignite new paths, or simply reignite old flames. What would be next for her? With that, she stepped off the altar, breaking free from the gripping fear that had defined her moments before. She was ready to forge ahead, a new chapter opening, yet the echoes of what could be lingered just behind her. In this chapter of reclaiming her narrative, who else would she find along the way? The cheers still resounded in Sarah's ears as she stepped away from the altar. In that moment, she felt more alive than she ever had. There was something exhilarating about having faced the truth, about standing on her own 2 feet and taking back control. Yet, as the applause blended with the murmurs of shock around her, she felt a tingle of anxiety beneath her bravado. What would she do now? She scanned the faces in the crowd, soaking in the support rather than dwelling on her heartbreak. Her friends were beaming, holding their phones high to capture the whirlwind of emotions swirling around the chapel. The warmth of their smiles melted away some residual tension she hadn't even realized she held. Moving forward, she didn't want to hide from the truths of her life. She wanted to embrace them fully. For a moment, time stood still. A hush fell over the crowd as Sarah caught Ben's eye again. There was a lightness in his gaze that felt surprisingly familiar, an unexpected anchor amidst the chaos. He stepped forward, and she could see the gentle kindness etched across his face. When he reached her, he offered a heartfelt, "You were incredible." Her heart fluttered at the sincerity in his voice. "Thanks, Ben," she replied, a shy smile breaking through the haze of fear that had clouded her mind moments before. "I didn't know I had it in me." "Sometimes it just takes a moment like this to set you free," he said, his expression softening. "It's a testament to your strength and resilience. Most people wouldn't have a fraction of that courage." Sarah blinked back tears, touched by his words. Yet the buzzing crowd around them felt distant, and a sudden uncertainty crept in. What did this moment mean? Was she ready to forge a new relationship?
Would she even have time to explore that when she was still untangling the mess left by Jake? Before she could spiral into those thoughts, Jake's voice cut through. "Everyone, please, can we not make this worse?" His plaintive tone echoed through the room, filled with desperation. "Sarah, let's just talk." The shake of her head was instinctive. "You've had your chance. You've lost the right to dictate how this plays out," she responded, her voice firm yet measured. The attendees began moving again, and she could sense the crowd's discomfort, their keen eyes trained on the broken groom who once stood tall beside her. "Might as well make a run for it," Ben murmured, a teasing glimmer in his eyes. "What are you talking about?" she asked, a small laugh bubbling up from within her. "Face it, everyone knows this is going to be talked about for weeks. We might as well give them a show," he said, gesturing toward the door. The idea struck her as both ludicrous and refreshing. With a single glance back at the altar, she realized she wasn't tethered to this day anymore. The chains of expectation and heartbreak were shattering. "Let's do it," she decided, heart racing as she grasped his hand. Together they made a break for the door. Laughter bubbled up as they maneuvered through a gathering knot of family, dodging astonished looks and whispered comments. The exit loomed like a gateway to freedom, and she felt buoyed by the support of those who had rallied behind her. When they stepped outside, the sun was shining brightly, illuminating everything in a golden hue. For the first time in ages, Sarah felt an overwhelming rush of hope. There was a whole world outside that chapel, waiting for her to step into it, just as she was. But as the jubilant laughter faded into the air, a sharp voice rang out behind them. "Sarah, wait!"
Jake's cry held a tangled mix of urgency and remorse. Could he truly have something more to say, or would he merely drag her back into the shadows once more? Sarah paused, heart pounding. What would she do if she turned back? Would this moment shape her future, or bind her to the past? Sarah's heart raced with a mix of emotions. She turned slowly to face Jake, the chaos around her fading for a moment as the world narrowed down to just him. His face was pale, eyes filled with concern, and for a fleeting second she saw the man she once loved. "Please, let's just talk for a second," he pleaded, stepping closer. This was no longer a man who commanded her attention. Instead, he exuded vulnerability, an open wound of his own making. "What is there to talk about, Jake?" she said, her voice a low whisper but edged with steel. "You've shown me who you truly are." His brow furrowed. "I know I've messed up. I never meant to hurt you." The sincerity in his voice didn't soften her resolve, but the familiarity spun around her like a haunting melody. Ben took a step forward, placing a protective hand on her shoulder. "You don't owe him anything, Sarah. Let's just go." She felt the warmth of Ben's gesture seep into her bones, a sharp contrast to the cold knot in her stomach as Jake's expression shifted from desperation to something that looked like fear. "You don't understand the whole story. I didn't mean to." "It doesn't matter," Sarah interrupted, the anger rising within her. She had taken back her power today, and there was no way she was giving it back. "You had your chance, Jake. You decided to play with my heart, and now you want to win me back with excuses?" Jake's shoulders slumped, the fight visibly leaving him. The crowd who had once cheered now stood still, the air thick with anticipation. Sarah squeezed Ben's hand tighter, drawing strength from him. "Sarah," Jake's voice cracked, "I still love you." His words hung in the air, shattering the momentary peace. Did he really mean it, or was it desperation speaking? She turned to Ben, who met her gaze, a silent question in his eyes. Could she trust him again? She opened her mouth, but before she could speak, the buzzing of conversation came rushing in, drowning them out. In that moment, an idea sparked within her, a powerful surge of decision fueled by the unexpected support she had found. "What if I said no?" she said loudly enough for the crowd to hear, allowing her words to fill the chilly air. "What if I said that I am moving forward without you, that I'm going to create a life that's mine alone?" The murmur shifted to applause as her words whipped through the bystanders. Freedom pulsed within her heartbeat, clashing against the remnants of her sorrow. Could this be the catalyst for real change in her life? The crowd's energy lifted her, their encouragement wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. Jake stood still, processing her declaration. Fear flashed across his eyes again, as if the reality of losing her truly settled in. "You'll regret it," he said softly. "No, I won't," she countered, her voice steady and clear. "Regret was living in the shadow of your choices. I'm stepping into the sun now." Ben looked at her, admiration shining in his gaze. "That's right." He gestured dramatically toward the open road ahead. "Let's get out of here and live our lives." She smiled at him, feeling light and free for the first time.
They turned back toward the path ahead, laughter echoing in her ears. But as they began to walk away, Sarah felt a strange tugging sensation. Would this path be without complications? It wasn't simply about moving on. It was about understanding her own heart again. Behind them, Jake's voice echoed in the hollow quiet, louder than before. "You can't run away from your feelings, Sarah." And just like that, doubt crept in. Could she really leave everything behind and start anew? As the weight of that question hovered in the air, one thing became crystal clear. Her future was still an unwritten chapter, and she was the author. As they moved farther away, she couldn't shake the feeling of Jake's words clawing at her resolve. What if she really couldn't escape? Would the past continue to shadow her no matter how far she ran? The road ahead seemed endless, but each step felt lighter than the last. Sarah and Ben walked side by side, their laughter ringing out, a melodic contrast to the heaviness that lingered behind them. Yet, even with the promise of freedom, a gnawing doubt wove itself into her thoughts. "Do you really think I can do this?" she asked Ben, her gaze fixed on the pavement ahead. "Move on, I mean?" He glanced at her, his expression steady and full of conviction. "Absolutely. You just did it, didn't you? You faced him. You told him how you felt. That took guts." "But what if—" she hesitated, the cold breeze kissing her cheeks. "What if I trip again? What if I can't let go?" Ben slowed his pace, turning to face her. "What if you've already taken the biggest step? Leaving him behind was just as liberating for you as it was for everyone watching. You can redefine your life, Sarah." His words wrapped around her heart, warming the chill that had settled there since Jake's revelation. She allowed herself a small smile, the first genuine one in what felt like ages. But doubt stirred again. "It just feels like I'm running away from something." "Sometimes running away is the best way to find yourself," he affirmed, his green eyes gleaming. "There's strength in leaving what no longer serves you." As they continued, Sarah was soon lost in thought, replaying Jake's declaration of love in her mind. Had it ever been genuine, or had it merely been a desperate grasp at redemption? She shook her head, trying to dispel the thoughts, but they clung stubbornly. Ben must have sensed her struggle. "Want to hear something silly?" he asked, nudging her lightly with his shoulder.
I think it's time for a little adventure. Let's stop at that coffee shop a few blocks down. Just relax a bit." She laughed softly, grateful for his ability to draw her out of her head. "You sure know how to distract a girl." "Hey, it's what I'm here for." Ben winked playfully, and she found herself relaxing a touch more. As they neared the coffee shop, the familiar scent of freshly brewed coffee enveloped them. Sarah inhaled deeply, allowing the warmth of the moment to wash over her. She glanced around the cafe as they entered, noticing the cozy ambiance and the chatter of patrons lost in their conversations. "2 coffees, right?" Ben asked, heading to the counter. "Make mine a latte, please," she replied, feeling buoyed by the impending familiarity and comfort. While Ben placed the order, Sarah's gaze drifted outside. The bustling streets swarmed with life. A woman walked past with a brightly colored bouquet, flowers dancing in the crisp air. For a brief moment, envy stirred within her, a longing for someone to offer her that kind of vibrancy and warmth. Then she quashed it, reminding herself that this was her new beginning. The coffee shop door swung open, drawing her attention. She turned just in time to see Jake step inside, his expression a mix of frustration and determination. Her heart dropped into her stomach. "Jake," she heard him call, his voice cutting through the cozy chatter. "No, not now," Sarah muttered under her breath, panic tightening the knot in her chest. Ben returned with their drinks, just as Jake approached with urgency in his steps. "Sarah," he exclaimed, desperation painting his features. "I need to talk to you right now." "Talk? You had your chance." She steadied herself, aware of Ben standing beside her, ready to defend her, just as he always had. But before she could say another word, Jake's face morphed into a mask of vulnerability, and for a heartbeat she saw the flickering remnants of what had once been there. "No, you don't understand. I came to tell you, there's something you need to know." Dread settled heavily within her. What could he possibly say now? As he took a breath, preparing to reveal whatever bombshell was brewing beneath the surface, Sarah felt the room shrink around her. The weight of the memories, both sour and sweet, hung in the air. Did she really want to know? The cafe fell into a hush,
as if the very air held its breath. Sarah felt her heartbeat thunder in her ears, drowning out the murmurs and laughter surrounding them. She stole a glance at Ben, whose brows furrowed in concern but remained steadfastly by her side. There was solace in his presence, an anchor for the tumultuous waves of emotion crashing within her. "Sarah," Jake pressed, urgency coloring his tone, "please, just listen. I need you to know that what I said before—" She cut him off, her voice firm and trembling at the edges. "What could you possibly say that would change anything? You had your chance, and you blew it."
His shoulders slumped, and for the first time she noticed the shadows beneath his eyes, the weariness etched into his features. This isn't about what happened. It's about something important, something you deserve to understand. Deserve. The word twisted in her gut. At that moment, she wasn't sure what she deserved. Freedom? Clarity? Or this gut-wrenching confrontation? "I don't want to hear another excuse," she replied, her resolve breaking slightly as her voice wavered, the hurt slipping through her carefully constructed defenses. "Can't you see I'm trying to move on?" Jake stepped closer, desperation spilling from him like a tide. "I know, I was wrong, but I need you to hear me out. It's about—" He hesitated, casting a quick glance around the cafe as if the walls themselves might betray him. "It's about Ben." Sarah felt the heat rush to her face. "What about him?" she asked, her stomach twisting into knots. She had prepared herself for accusations, for shallow reassurances, but not this. Ben's grip on his cup tightened, and Sarah could see the tension ripple down the lines of his jaw. "Jake, this isn't fair," he said, a low warning in his tone. "Just let me explain," Jake pleaded, eyes darting between Sarah and Ben. "I never meant to hurt you, Sarah. It was never you. Everything that happened, it wasn't just me being selfish. It was all of us. Ben knows." The tension in the room thickened, wrapping around Sarah like a vine, squeezing tighter and tighter. "What do you mean Ben knows? What could he possibly—" Before she could finish, Ben spoke, his voice calm but edged with emotion. "You don't understand the full picture, Sarah. There are things I didn't tell you out of respect for your feelings. But what he's trying to say is that the truth is far more complicated than you know." Sarah felt the ground beneath her shift. She turned her focus back to Jake, looking for answers, for clarity. His eyes held a mixture of fear and sincerity. "I'm done running from it. I owe it to you to tell you the truth about everything." "Then tell me," she demanded, heart racing. "You've had your chance to make things right. What is it? What's the truth?" Jake took a breath, and then his eyes locked onto hers. "I was involved in something that you wouldn't understand. It's why I acted the way I did. There's a reason I couldn't commit." The world around her faded, all focus sinking into Jake's words. Questions buzzed in her mind like angry bees, and she felt trapped between lingering hurt and a desperate need to know. "Just say it," she shouted, the rawness of her emotions breaking free. But before Jake could reply, the door swung open again, and a new figure stepped inside. A woman, radiant, with fire in her eyes. She glanced around as if searching, and when she locked eyes with Jake, a knowing smile spread across her face. Sarah's heart raced for different reasons now. Who was she, and what did she know about Jake? As the woman approached, a cold dread coiled in Sarah's stomach. What other secrets lingered in the air? The woman stepped closer, exuding an undeniable confidence. Her long hair shimmered under the fluorescent lights of the cafe, and the way she moved, it was as if she commanded attention without even trying. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she noticed the way Jake's expression changed, hopeful, perhaps even relieved. "Jake," the woman said, her voice smooth and inviting, "I didn't think I'd find you here." "Emily?" Jake breathed out, eyes wide. Sarah's heart sank, a weight pressing down on her chest. She recognized that name, a part of her past she thought she'd buried. "You know her?" Sarah's voice was barely more than a whisper, tinged with disbelief and a flicker of betrayal. "Yes, long story," Jake replied, his gaze darting to Sarah, then back to Emily, who looked at him as if he was the only person in the room. "Long story?" Sarah repeated, feeling the walls around her closing in.
So this is what you meant by complicated? Is this your excuse? No, Sarah, listen, Jake pleaded again, his urgency palpable. Emily stepped forward, confidence radiating from her like a beacon. Maybe it's time to clarify some things, she said, her eyes shimmering with a mixture of sympathy and excitement. I didn't expect to get tangled up in this again, but it seems fate has other plans. Ben, who had been watching silently, shifted in his seat, his expression a mix of confusion and concern. What are you talking about, Emily? Jake and I, she glanced at Jake, who looked like he wanted to vanish. We have a history that you don't know about, Sarah. There it was. That shattering admission hung in the air like a thunderstorm brewing on the horizon. Sarah's mind raced. What do you mean? What history? Each word was laced with the sharp sting of panic, and she could feel her anger rising through the cracks of her crumbling patience. We were together before. Things fell apart. Emily began, her voice steady but soft. I didn't know he was seeing you. He never told me about you. We were entangled in something bigger than either of us realized. Bigger? Sarah echoed, feeling lost in the sea of their shared revelations. What does that even mean? Jake looked between them, panic boiling at the edges of his eyes. Sarah, please, this isn't how I wanted you to find out. It's not as simple as it seems. I messed up. But I deserve to know the whole truth, Sarah shouted, demanding answers in a world that had suddenly turned upside down. Emily raised her hands, attempting to calm the mounting tension. Look, save the anger for later. You both need to understand that there's a lot that's still hidden out there, and it involves more than just feelings. It's about choices that affect everyone. Sarah turned her gaze to Ben, desperate for his reassurance, but his expression mirrored her confusion. What choices?
She pressed, pushing back against the swell of heartbreak rising within her. There are things I've been keeping for my own reasons, Jake finally admitted, his voice low. And you're right, I shouldn't have involved you. I should have told you everything from the start. But as tension thickened like fog, Emily added another layer to the unfolding drama. And it's not just Jake's choices that you need to worry about. There's a lot we need to discuss. The cafe buzzed around them, oblivious to the storm brewing at their small table. But Sarah felt the world crashing into focus. Every heartbeat seemed to echo in her ears, and the air smoldered with uncertainty. Then it's time we get everything out on the table, Sarah declared, feeling heat rise within her chest. Little did she know, their conversation was about to reveal more than secrets. It would challenge everything she believed about trust. And as Emily prepared to share, a shadow from the past lingered behind her, ready to reshape their futures in ways none of them could anticipate. What other truths would surface when the past collided with the present? The air thickened with unsaid words, the tension buzzing as if a storm was about to break. Emily took a deep breath, her eyes darting between Sarah and Jake, weighing the best place to begin. Okay, let's start with the truth, she said softly, yet with determination. Jake and I were together for over a year. Our relationship was intense, filled with love and promises that, in the end, didn't mean much. Why would you keep this from me? Sarah's voice trembled as anger threatened to rise up again. Her heart raced, each pulse a reminder of betrayal. Jake instinctively reached for Sarah's hand, but she pulled away. Don't touch me, she snapped. The pain in her eyes cut deeper than any wound. Listen, Sarah, I didn't know how to tell you, he said, his voice cracking under the weight of his own emotions. I thought it was all behind me. I thought I could move on. I thought I could too, Emily interjected, her voice filled with an unexpected softness. But the truth is, the past doesn't always stay buried. There are connections that haunt you, but I never wanted to hurt either of you. But you are, Sarah shot back, a mix of disbelief and sorrow etched across her face. What other connections are we talking about? What else is there? Emily hesitated, pain flickering across her features. There's something you need to know about why I came back. It's not just about Jake. It's about my family. I'm connected to a situation that ties into both your lives more than you realize. What are you saying? Ben interjected, confusion lining his brow. He had been silent enough. I'm saying, Emily continued, her voice growing steadier, my father has dealings that affect everyone. There are people involved who will stop at nothing to protect their secrets. I didn't come here just to tangle up with old flames. I came because I need your help. At that moment, it felt like the ground shifted beneath them. Sarah's breath hitched in her throat. Help? Why should we help you? Because your lives are in danger too, Emily insisted. If you think this is just a love triangle, you're wrong. There are bigger forces at play here. I'm trying to protect you both. Jake surged forward, the desperation etched in his features. Protect us? Protect us from what, Emily? You're the one who got involved in our lives without warning. A ripple of uncertainty settled between them. Angela's mind was a whirlpool of confusion. Just tell me how this ends. If you're going to share everything, no more hiding. Emily nodded, her expression resolute. There's a confrontation coming, one I've been trying to solve on my own, but it's too dangerous. I can't do this without you. As the weight of her words sank in, Sarah felt a swell of courage bubbling up. She turned to Jake, searching his eyes. What do you think? Can we trust her? I don't know, he replied honestly, uncertainty lurking in his tone. But we can't ignore this either. We owe it to ourselves to know the truth. With a shared glance, they realized the path ahead was uncertain, yet it was carved by their choices. Resolute, Sarah faced Emily again. Then let's dig deeper. You want the truth? I want it all. Just as she uttered those words, the cafe door swung open. A chilling breeze swirled inside, and a figure stepped through, eyes locked on their table with a predatory intensity. The atmosphere shifted, and everyone in the cafe seemed to quiet down, sensing the impending storm. Who the hell are you? Ben demanded, standing protectively beside Sarah. The figure smiled, displaying an unsettling familiarity. You all are in deeper than you think, and I'm here to collect. At that moment, Sarah realized the real game was just beginning, and their choices might seal their fates. The tension in the cafe was electric, and Sarah felt her pulse quickened as the figure took a few steps closer. She couldn't shake the feeling that the stranger had a hold over all of them, the way a shadow looms in dim light. A flicker of recognition sparked in her mind. She had seen that face before, but where? Who are you? She repeated, her voice steadier than she felt, as Jake shifted protectively beside her. Let's just say I'm a friend of Emily's, or a family member if you'd prefer, the figure said, a sly grin spreading across his lips. He was tall, with dark hair and sharp features that seemed to have been chiseled from stone. You've all gotten mixed up in something much bigger than you realize. Enough with the games, Ben shot back, stepping forward. What do you want? The stranger's eyes glimmered with amusement. What I want? That's simple. I want to make sure Emily understands the consequences of her little resurrection into your lives. Emily's face paled. What do you mean by that? You're not supposed to be here. Neither are you, dear sister. The tension in the room escalated as he took another step, his voice dropping an octave. But here we are. You're playing a dangerous game, and you're not very good at it. Stop saying that, she said, her voice breaking slightly. You don't understand what I'm trying to do. What you're trying to do? He laughed, a cold, hollow sound. You think you can just come back at will and put everything right? You're naive. There are people who want you silenced, Emily. People who won't hesitate to include your friends in their plans. Jake turned to Emily, the worry etched deep into his brow. What's his deal, Em? Why is he here? Sarah's stomach churned. She stepped closer to Jake, her heart racing. They had been tangled up in an emotional storm just moments ago, but now a real danger loomed. Listen, Greg, Emily said, her voice catching slightly. I won't let you hurt them. These are good people. You have no right. I have every right, Greg interrupted harshly. You brought them into our family's mess, and now they must pay the price for your betrayal. Ben's eyes flashed with anger. Betrayal? What the hell are you talking about? Let's not act innocent here, Greg gestured dismissively. They're caught in the crossfire of your choices. This is bigger than love triangles and broken hearts. As uncertainty flooded the room like a rising tide, Sarah's mind raced. The glimpse of danger mingled with betrayal, intertwining with her feelings of anger towards Emily and Jake. The very foundation of their lives was shaking, and she felt the weight of every choice crashing down upon them. Emily, you need to get us out of this, Sarah said, finding a voice that rang with urgency. If we're in danger, we can't stay here. Greg leaned forward, a predatory glint in his eyes. You think you can outrun the truth? You're all tangled in webs too thick to escape. Enough, Jake yelled, his face tightening with resolve. We're not going to be pawns in this game anymore, you hear me? The cafe was still tense, the air electric with impending quiet, broken only by the unmistakable sounds of footsteps approaching from the back. Suddenly, a door swung open, and another figure emerged, darkened by shadows but radiating authority. Leave them, the newcomer commanded, and the room held its breath. Just as shock rippled through the group, Sarah realized the real battle was about to commence, and loyalty was going to be tested like never before. The cafe felt like a pressure cooker, every one of them teetering on the edge of panic. Sarah's heart thundered in her chest as she tried to make sense of the chaos unfolding before her. The newcomer who had stepped into the dim light exuded a commanding presence. Tall, with stark features softened only by an air of familiarity, he seemed both a threat and protector. Leave them, he repeated, his voice steady and authoritative.
Greg, the malevolent figure, hesitated, but his narrowed gaze didn't waver. And why would I listen to you? The look the newcomer shot was lethal, sending an electrifying chill through the entire room. Because this isn't your fight. You need to leave and take your threats with you. Sarah felt the tides shifting, layers of tension unfolding like a flower blooming in the spring, albeit one with thorns. Ben stood rigid alongside her, ready to defend her if necessary. Jake mirrored Ben's defiance, eyes fixed on Greg as if willing him to back down. Emily seemed shaken, yet there was a flicker of determination ignited within her. "Who are you?" Greg demanded, his bravado slipping a notch. "This doesn't involve you." "Doesn't it?" He surveyed the room, noticing the fear etched in the faces of those gathered. "You think it's business as usual to threaten a family member in a cafe packed with innocent people?" "Family?" Sarah piped up, disbelief lacing her words. "What is your family involved in? What has Emily gotten into?" The air crackled with unspoken truths, a whirlwind of secrets tangling together, each revelation more shocking than the last. The newcomer regarded Emily, the weight of their connection palpable. "I'm here to ensure your safety, Em. You're in this deep, and it's time we dealt with it." Emily's face softened momentarily, a mix of relief and gratitude shining through her panic. "You shouldn't have come, Liam. This is dangerous for you." In that instant, it became clear. Liam was more than just a protector. He was a brother figure, someone invested not just in Emily, but in unraveling the mess that connected them all. "Not as dangerous as staying here," he shot back, his steely gaze still locked on Greg. "You don't own this corner of the world. You've caused enough damage already." Greg took a step back, clearly unsettled. "The wheels were already in motion before you showed your face. You're meddling in things you don't understand." "Then fill us in," Sarah challenged, her voice rising with uncharacteristic courage. "I've had enough of mystery and deception. If there's a reason for this confrontation, it's time we all heard it. What's going on?" The air was thick with expectation as everyone held their breath, awaiting the truth. Greg seemed to falter, glancing between Liam and Emily. "You really want to know? There are rivalries at play, family ties that breed resentment, and secrets that tie our lives together in ways you can't even imagine. You think your heartbreak is the worst thing happening here? You're all pawns in a bigger game." Liam stepped forward, his voice sharper than ever. "You don't get to play games with their lives, Greg. You miscalculated if you think you can just sweep this under the rug. I won't let you threaten my sister's future or anyone else's." Ben threw a glance at Sarah, silently supporting her as she straightened, bolstered by the strength of the alliance forming. "We deserve the truth, all of us."
"No more hiding." "That's right," she echoed, feeling the resolve blossom within her. "We deserve clarity and safety. Whatever is lurking in the shadows, it's time we shine a light on it." At that moment, Greg seemed to realize that the tide was turning. "You think you can just barge in and demand answers?" he scoffed, but there was a tremor in his voice now. "That's exactly what we're doing," Sarah said firmly, determination coursing through her. "We've had enough deception." But before Greg could respond, Liam was already stepping in. "You're a coward if you think threats are the way out. If it were just about you, maybe I'd feel differently. But you're toying with lives, and for that, you will face consequences." The crowd in the cafe was still as statues, captivated by the confrontation before them. Sarah felt a flicker of hope sparking, realizing that together, maybe they could break free from the shadows of their past.
"Let's do this," Emily said, voice strong. "We'll face whatever comes next together." And just as that resolve filled the air, there was movement at the back of the cafe. Another figure emerged, one whose presence cast a shadow that eclipsed even Liam's assertiveness. The tension surged again, everyone holding their breath. Who else had decided to enter this web of revelations? "Let's get this over with," the newcomer said, flicking back his dark coat with nonchalance that belied the gravity of the moment. "You think you can handle the truth? Buckle up, Tids, because you have no idea what you're getting into." Sarah felt the pulse of fear and determination entwine in her veins. The fight was far from over, but perhaps in facing it, she could reclaim her narrative, rewrite her fate. All eyes were on her now. What would she do? The shadows were closing in, but the light of unity and resilience was beginning to shine brighter than ever. The confrontation might shatter them or bind them together. The choice was theirs to make. In that instant, she took a deep breath, and with eyes set firmly ahead, she chose to step into the unknown, ready to face whatever came next. "Let's find out what we're truly made of," she declared, her voice steady, echoing the unwavering spirit rising within them all. The path ahead was steep and uncertain, but it was theirs to carve, together. And as darkness loomed, they stood united, poised to step into the light. If ever there were a moment to embrace strength, now was that time. Now was the time for revolution, for transformation, for breaking free and reclaiming every lost piece of their forgotten stories. And together, they would shine. As the sun dipped below the horizon, they steadied themselves, ready to become more than just survivors of their past. They would be warriors for their futures. It was time to make choices and embrace new beginnings.
They would transform into the vibrant forces they were always meant to be, because they were in this together, and together they were unstoppable. Now it was time to take action. This was just the beginning. And with every heartbeat, they vowed to write a new ending together. You need to subscribe now to catch every twist and turn in our journey. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for these unforgettable stories. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this epic transformation. What's your own story of resilience? And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this powerful message of hope and empowerment. Don't wait not even one more second. Let's spread the light of self-discovery and unity together.